Welcome back to the Crypto channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin just hit my exact bearish price target for this price pattern in the short term, and is now bouncing from this important area of support while the Bitcoin and crypto funding rates are flipping negative, which is something that we need to pay attention to, while Ethereum is also perfectly bouncing from this important Fibonacci level, while the price of XRP is now flashing a new signal that we need to pay attention to. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just before taking a look at the Bitcoin and crypto charts today, taking a quick look at the US stock market. This right here is the S&P 500 index on the 1 hour time frame, and we can see that today, with today's trading day, of course, we had a rebound in the US stock market for the most part, which can help Bitcoin and crypto in the short term. As I always say, a lot of the altcoins play out similar price action to whatever Bitcoin does, especially in terms of the short-term price action, but Bitcoin also really follows what the US stock market is doing. For example, if the stock market is dumping, that's likely going to cause a dump for Bitcoin and crypto, as we have seen over the last week or so in both the stock market and the crypto market. But just today, we have seen a bit of a short-term rebound in stocks and also a short-term rebound in crypto. So keep that in mind. This is at least some good news for now in the short term for stocks and also by extension, the crypto market. And if we're taking a look at the weekly Bitcoin price chart, we can see that right now the super trend indicator is still sitting in the green, indicating a larger bull market. So we've not yet confirmed a new bear market. Keep that in mind. A lot of people out there are talking about a bear market the same way that a lot of people talked about a bear market here during March 2025. Talked about a bear market here during August 2024. A lot of people were talking about a bear market here during August 2023, but obviously everyone was always wrong during all of these periods in time because we never saw the confirmation to actually confirm the bear market. It was ultimately people just speculating. And so once again, right now, we don't really have a lot of confirmation fully confirming the end of the bull market, at least not as of right now. And I've been getting a lot of comments here in these videos asking me about my opinion on the 4-year halving cycles for the price of Bitcoin, the bull market, bear market cycles. And in my opinion, I think the 4-year halving cycles, the Bitcoin halvings, over time will lose relevance. That's just speculation. That's my opinion. And so it's not going to be a black and white event where one day the halving cycles are going to matter and continue to play out, and then the very next day they're fully over, they're completely cancelled. Of course, it's likely going to be phasing out over a long period of time. And so what I mean by that is potentially in the future, over the next few years or so, we could see to some degree echoes of the halving cycles. So where we might have previously seen a bear market in one of the bear market years for the 4-year cycles, we might just see a correction. Or on the other hand, while we're seeing potentially a bounce in the price of Bitcoin, historically that might have been the beginning of a bull market based on the 4-year halving cycles, but maybe in the future it's just a bit of a short-term bounce that lasts for a few months and not necessarily the beginning of the bull market, for example. So kind of echoes of past halving cycles could play out in the future, but essentially beginning to phase out. So no longer playing out the strict 4-year halving cycles over the coming years is what I currently predict. And if we're taking a look at this Bitcoin price chart on the weekly time frame, we still have a massive bearish divergence to watch out for, which is still playing out, as I've been warning about for weeks now on the channel, telling everyone and warning everyone about this pullback that we've already been seeing over the last few weeks. Obviously, I've been saying expect a lot of weakness, lacking bullish momentum, which means at best choppy sideways price action, but most likely a bit more of a pullback over the next few weeks or possibly months. So this is still active, still playing out on the weekly Bitcoin price chart right now. And if we're taking a look at the daily Bitcoin price chart, the price is now perfectly bounced from pretty much my exact area of support that I've been talking about since before we perfectly bounced from that level. And that was sitting at roughly 100,000, even slightly below 100,000, which is also what I mentioned in my last video. And so obviously this is good news that the price is bouncing at roughly 100,000 and even at close to 99,000, because if we broke below this area, especially with a candle close on the daily time frame below 100,000, in that situation, the next support would be sitting at around 97,000, and below that, that would be sitting at around 93 to 94,000 as the next support below that. But for now, once again, roughly 100,000 acting as major support to pay attention to. And as for resistance, if we continue a bounce here, expect some resistance at roughly 106 to 107,000 and a lot of resistance at around 110.5k to 111,000. And if we're taking a look at the shorter term, looking at the 6-hour time frame, the price of Bitcoin perfectly played out this bearish price pattern, hitting the exact price target and slightly surpassing the price target before now perfectly rebounding from my exact support. And so, for example, if you took this trading opportunity, let's just say if you opened a short position once we confirmed a candle close below the neckline, so right here at around 106.5k, if you open a short position there on Bitcoin and then you close the short position at the price target, which was sitting at roughly 100,000, ever so slightly below 100,000, around 99.8k, give or take. If you close the short right there, obviously you would have made quick and easy profits and gotten out of that trade nice and quickly to make easy profits during the dump while everyone else out there was losing money. And so this is why it is important to subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on so that you don't miss out on these trading opportunities, which I share here on the channel completely for free, fully transparently. And when it comes to my trading strategy right now, I'm still currently in this Bitcoin futures grid bot, which overall is actually right now pretty much at around break even, as you can see right here. And so despite seeing that major drop off that we saw over the last few days in the price of Bitcoin and the crypto market, due to the fact that we're now seeing a bit of a short-term bounce, this is now bringing this trading strategy back towards break even and potentially about to flip back into profits again if we see a little bit more of a bounce here. Remember, this trading strategy makes money for as long as we see at least some sort of bounce in the short term. It doesn't matter if we see a dump and then a bounce or just a bounce without the dump. Either way, for as long as we see some sort of bounce in the price of Bitcoin, this trading strategy makes money. Because you can see this trading strategy at play on my Pionex account. This is a grid bot trading strategy, basically having a bunch of buy orders to the downside, sell orders to the upside. I'm just being fully transparent with you how I'm making profits in this crypto market. So once again, if the price of Bitcoin continues bouncing here, they'll just simply trigger more of these sell orders, taking profits as we go higher to automatically buy low, sell high. And you can see all of these buy orders to the downside. Of course, while we were dumping just the other day, I was continuing to buy more Bitcoin all the way down to the exact bottom. I bought at around 99,000, as you can see right here. All of these buy orders, pretty much every couple $100, there's a new buy order so that I can pretty much buy the exact bottom and also all of these other prices along the way down. And then once again, the moment we see a bounce, it triggers the sell orders to secure profits. And so for as long as we're playing out a bit of volatility, whether it's some choppy sideways price action or a dump and then a pump or just a continued bounce, whatever, for as long as we just don't see a straight line to the downside without a bounce, basically all of those other scenarios, this trading strategy makes money. As always, no guarantees, not financial advice. I'm just sharing what I'm currently doing with my own money. And if you want to take advantage of this trading strategy, which I'm currently using myself, I will leave a link below this video. In fact, the second link below this video will take you to this page right here where you can copy my exact trading strategy, copy my trading bot with a single click of a button. As you can see right here, just copy the bot. And on this page, you can see the realized profits, the unrealized P&L, the exact amount of time this trading strategy has been running for, etc. All of the information on this page right here. And once again, if you want to check it out, second link below this video. But in order to actually copy this trading strategy, because it's set up over on my Pionex account, you will need a Pionex account using one of the links below the video in order to actually copy this trading bot. Unfortunately, if you don't use one of the links to actually make your Pionex account, this copy button simply will not work. So if you're actually using the first link below this video, that first link will take you to this page right here, where you can also take advantage of a bunch of other bonuses simply just by making an account using that link, completing KYC. You get a 50 USDT bonus onto your account. And there's also deposit bonuses. If you deposit just $100, you get a $100 deposit bonus. If you deposit $10,000, you get a $1,000 bonus onto your Pionex account. So basically a bunch of free money from the exchange just by simply making deposits or completing KYC using that link below the video to Pionex. But once again, all of these bonuses right here are only available if you're using that link, and also copying this trading strategy is also only available if you're using the link below the video to actually make your Pionex account. So that's an update on my trading strategy for the price of Bitcoin. And right now, as I've recorded in this video, it is looking like this trading strategy is just about to flip back into the profits again. It's at pretty much exactly break even. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, obviously on a slightly larger time frame, like the last 1 month worth of price action, there's still a little bit of liquidity to the downside to pay attention to. But with that being said, if we're looking at the shorter term price action, we could see most of the liquidity is above the price at around 112K and 116.5K. So keep that in mind. Those are major price targets to watch out for, but also keep in mind that between the current price and those higher levels of liquidity, we have a lot of resistance that we need to pay attention to. Like for example, 106 to 107,000 around here will likely act as a decent amount of resistance in the short term. And then if we can break out back above 107,000 in that situation, expect more resistance at around 111,000, also based on this line right here at 111K. And if we can get back above that level, we expect much more resistance at roughly around 115.5K to 116,000. But obviously, before we can even think about those higher price targets, we have a lot of these other points of resistance to first pay attention to. And if we're taking a quick look at the Bitcoin and crypto funding rates, we can see that right now, the Bitcoin funding rates are slightly below neutral, but especially a lot of these altcoin funding rates are now flipping well into the negative territory, as we can see right here across multiple different exchanges, which basically means a lot of traders out there are looking for short positions, opening short positions and holding short positions. There's basically a high demand right now to short these altcoins, and not many people looking to long these altcoin assets. And so it's possible that this right here, these negative funding rates, can help cause a bit of a short squeeze, liquidating some of those over leveraged short positions while the price potentially has a bit of a short-term rebound. So keep that in mind. A bit more of a rebound could be likely. And also, just to be clear, I have actually closed my hedge short position over the last 1 day. Remember, that was not really to make a bunch of profits during a dump. It was basically just to hedge this trade right here. But because this is now just about to break back into profits potentially and pretty much back at break even, it makes sense to close the hedge for the short position, close the hedge short position now that we're starting to finally rebound from support. But just remember, these negative funding rates can help cause a bit of a short squeeze, which can potentially push the price a little bit higher just in the short term. So overall, those are my expectations in the immediate short term. A little bit more of a bounce here is likely right now for Bitcoin, and by extension, a lot of the crypto market, especially if the stock market also continues a bounce, which is happening as of recording this video. And with that being said, if we're taking a quick look at the Bitcoin dominance on the daily time frame, right now the Bitcoin dominance is still struggling at this exact resistance that I've been talking about for a long time, sitting in between 60.5% to 61%. So far we've only seen candle wicks towards the upside, but no actual confirmed candle closes confirming a breakout and actually holding above this area, at least not yet. And so at least just in the short term, this is some good news to pay attention to for the altcoin market, meaning a lot of the altcoins can finally have a bit of a breather in the short term, a bit of a relief in the short term, basically a break from all of the bearish price action just in the short term for the altcoin market is likely potentially over the next few days, while the Bitcoin dominance continues to struggle for a little longer here at this resistance. And if we're taking a look at Ethereum on the daily time frame, we can very much see that short-term relief for Ethereum already starting to play out, bouncing from this exact Fibonacci level of support, the 38.2% Fibonacci level of support here on the daily Ethereum price chart. When we're looking at the fibs from swing low to swing high on this logarithmic chart, once again, we have the 38.2% Fibonacci level of support sitting at around 30.50, and the price, at least on this chart right here on the Coinbase chart, bottomed at roughly around 30.50 to 30.60. So pretty much within just a few dollars of this exact Fibonacci level. And this is actually the second most important Fibonacci level on the price chart behind the golden pocket. And so this is a great sign to see in the short term that the price is bouncing from this exact important Fibonacci level, and we're potentially on our way towards retesting this previous Fibonacci level right here, which could potentially now act as resistance. Be aware of this level sitting at just above 3.6K, around 36.60 to 36.70. So really in between 3.6K to 3.7K as an area of resistance to watch out for. And also potentially one of the reasons as to why we're seeing a slight bounce in the short term for Ethereum and why that could possibly continue over the next few days is due to the fact that we're also bouncing from pretty much oversold territories on the daily Ethereum RSI. And the last couple of times we were this low, in fact, close to oversold in the daily Ethereum RSI, were first of all around September 2025 and around June 2025. And if we're looking at the price of ETH during those times, that was not necessarily an exact bottom signal. Of course, it's possible the price could ultimately go lower later on at some stage, but at least in the short term for the following days, we did see some decent bounces in the short term for the price of ETH following this close to oversold signal. And in fact, this time is even lower than what we saw these last few times in the RSI. And so simply based on the reactions from the last couple of close to oversold signals in the daily Ethereum RSI, it is quite likely that over the next few days, it's likely will continue a bit more of a bullish relief now, as a very likely scenario. As always, no guarantees, but especially if Bitcoin and stocks are doing the same, expect a bit more of a relief now, as a very likely scenario for Ethereum in the short term, especially if the Bitcoin dominance continues to struggle here. It's all coming together now. And if we're taking a look at Solana on the 2-day time frame, it's a similar situation for Solana. Technically, the larger structure is still bearish, but in the short term, we are obviously bouncing and seeing a relief from this exact level of support that I've been targeting for a while now on the channel, sitting in between 143 to 146. Pretty much the moment we entered that area, the moment we hit around 146 and dipped just a few cents below around 146, 147, we obviously bounced from that exact level, as we can see right here, 146 to 147. And so that is still the level of support to pay attention to for the price of Solana. And as for resistance, if we continue a bit more of a bounce here, expect a decent amount of resistance at give or take $170 and a lot of resistance in between 190 to 200. And overall, in terms of what we should be expecting in the short term, basically expect similar price action as what I just said for Ethereum and Bitcoin. So just follow my Bitcoin and Ethereum analysis to figure out what is likely going to happen for Solana here in the short term. And if we're taking a look at the price of XRP on the weekly time frame, technically we're still playing out the much larger bearish divergence on this larger time frame here. So keep that in mind. Of course, we could see short-term bullish reliefs lasting for a period of days or weeks, but if we're talking about a period of months, this is still playing out on the weekly time frame. Keep that in mind. But if we're taking a look at the slightly shorter term on the daily time frame, we're now flashing a new bullish divergence, forming a bullish divergence, and it is looking likely that this could soon confirm with this next candle close right here, which confirms in around 5 hours from now as of recording this video. By the time you're watching the video, probably about 4 hours from now. And for as long as we see a decent green candle right here on the daily time frame, a decent green candle close confirming this higher low in place in the RSI, then in that situation, of course, that officially confirms the bullish divergence. We've already confirmed the lower lows in the price in the candle closes. We just need to now confirm the higher low in place in the RSI, which once again is looking likely with this next candle close coming in just a few hours from now, which essentially means we could finally see a bit more of a short-term bullish relief for the price of XRP. The last bullish divergence that confirmed was a couple of weeks ago, right here between these lows in the price and the higher lows in the RSI. And what came next was a short-term bullish relief that lasted for a couple of weeks or so, around 1 to 2 weeks, around 1.5 weeks, before ultimately we continued the larger bearish trend with that next leg towards the downside. And so overall, this is also aligning with the rest of the analysis that I've been saying throughout the video. Expect a bit more of a short-term bullish relief in the coming days as a very likely scenario, especially if this now confirms here on the daily XRP price chart. And as for resistance to watch out for, if we continue a bit more of a bounce here, first of all, we pretty much perfectly bounced from my exact support that I've been targeting since much higher prices at around $2.05. We bounced at around $2.06. So we got within 1 cent of my exact support that I've been targeting since much higher price targets. And as for resistance to watch out for, if we continue this bounce now, expect some resistance in between roughly 230 to 240, and expect a lot of resistance at roughly 265. So really in between $2.60 to 270 as a strong area of resistance. And if we're taking a look at the price of Chainlink on the daily time frame, it's a somewhat similar situation for Chainlink. Technically, the larger price structure, the larger trend, still clearly bearish. But if we're talking about the shorter term, a move within the trend, it's likely that now we're going to see a bit more of a bounce or a slight bullish relief for Chainlink, especially if the rest of the crypto market plays out the same. And so right now, the price of Chainlink is potentially at a similar stage in the market as to what we saw around mid-October, for example, not yet confirming the end of the larger bearish trend. It's possible we could ultimately continue the bearish trend lower later on at some point, like what we ultimately did with that next leg towards the downside that we only saw a few days ago. But just in the short term during the trend, we can see a short-term bullish relief, and we're potentially about to begin a bit of a relief, a bit of a break from that bearish trend, but not necessarily the end of the trend. And as for resistance to watch out for, if we continue a bit more of a bounce here, expect some resistance we're running into right now in between roughly 1520 to 1570. But if we break out above 1570 with confirmation and hold above that level, in that situation, expect a little bit more resistance at roughly around $16.60, give or take. And above that, more resistance around $17.50 and strong resistance in between around $19 to $20. And remember, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of any crypto, like what I'm currently doing, to easily profit in the market, and right now, this has just actually flipped back into the profits. You can see this live as I'm recording this video. It's just now flipped back into the profits. As you can see, I have been sharing this trading strategy while it dipped slightly into a loss, but now back into the profits. But once again, if you want to take these sort of trades for yourself, check out the links below this video to those exchanges if you want to claim the massive bonuses that are only available using those links. And if you want to actually know how you can take these sort of trades to easily profit in the market, no matter what the price does, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.